like it scares you kind of a little bit. You see the power, you just see it. You're like, okay, if he's gonna stand up now, he's gone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Odd Tandem. Today, we had a really interesting chat with a young up-and-coming German rider. Jens, you've evidently known him quite a while. What did you think about our chat today?
It was great, and it was also really good to see how much he has been growing up since I met him first time when he was probably 8 or 10 years old, which is 15 years ago, probably, something like that. I happened to train with his mother. She was a professional cyclocross cyclist in Germany, became once German champion in cyclocross. And now he is coming to us from the house of his mentor and friend, Thorsten, who actually did train with us back in Berlin, and he used to run the show. He used to tell us if we have to turn left or right. So Thorsten was the man in command in my training group in Berlin.
I mean, I know Thorsten is a very common name in Germany, so you kind of got to narrow this down. What's Thorsten's last name?
Wittig, Thorsten Wittig. We called him Wille. And he is not shy to use really clear words. Let me tell you that.
Juri Hollmann is our guest today. We had a great talk, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this brand new episode. Juri Hollmann, welcome to The Odd Tandem.
Thanks a lot.
Quick question. Number one, where are you coming to us from? And then after you answer that, I got a little fact checking that I need to do with my old buddy Jens here. So where are you coming to us from right now?
In the moment, I stay in Mallorca. Actually, I'm at a house at an old friend of Jens. His name is Thorsten. You probably know him really, really well, I think. I'm staying there in the moment because, the weather is quite crazy in Germany. We have snow. It's around 0 degrees. And I just wanted to do some good training. And so I decided to take the plane and do some good hours on the bike here on Mallorca.
Okay, so this is my quick little fact-checking thing. I've known Jens a long time, and he's from Berlin. You're from Berlin. And I remember he used to tell me that they would go, if you showed up on a group ride in Berlin without fenders.
In the winter, in the rain. In the winter,
in the rain, that not only did you have to have fender, but you had to have half a water bottle cut off, so it basically took the fender all the way down to the road. Is that true?
Okay, I was still a little kid. I think I was around maybe 10, 11 years old. But how I remember it as a little kid, it's completely true, yeah.
Thank you, Juri. I'll buy you a beer when I see you next time at the races. Yeah, especially with the friend Thorsten he's living with. He was hard about it. Yeah, Thorsten, we could fill an entire episode just with Thorsten. Just for our viewers, let me know. One time in the off-season, or right after the off-season, I came back to train with them, and Thorsten went, "Hey Jens, your neck, you look like a little fat pig. You know, you got rolls in your neck." He called me cockroach once as well. So he was not shy with some clear words. But back to you, Juri. To get things started, Juri, we got a few quick-fire questions. Just short questions, short answers. 4 of them. Are you ready, Juri?
Yes, I'm ready.
Alrighty. Cyclocross or mountain biking in the off-season?
Cyclocross.
Your idol in cycling?
When I was a kid, it was actually Andy Schleck, Fabian Cancellara, and you.
Thank you. The hardest thing for you to leave at home when you go for a race or training camp?
My own bed, I would say.
Good answer. We never had that before. Yeah. What is your favorite race?
One day race, I would say Strade Bianche.
Alrighty. Good. That's a lovely race.
I always wanted to do that one, Jensi. But, now that I'm banned from gravel, after my crash in the summer, I guess I'll not be able to partake even in that Gran Fondo that they have there. All right, Juri, looking back at your career so far, you spent 4 years at Movistar. Last year was your first year at Alpecin de Koenig. Before we dive into where you are right now, Tell us a little bit about how that first contract came up. I know that you turned pro with Movistar during the COVID years, so that was kind of lame start. But yeah, what was that organization like? I mean, you had Valverde on the team back then. Mathieu Jorgensen had just joined the team. Tell us a little bit about that Spanish team atmosphere and organization.
We were actually a lot of youngsters. I think in 2019, so when they signed us, they had the idea to build like a young roster with a lot of talented, I would say, guys. I think we were 9 new signings, if I'm not wrong, at that time, with like guys that were between 20 and I think 22, 23, 24. And the idea of that was that the team gets more international and makes a step into development, because Movistar is known for their old school style, I would say, and their tradition. So they wanted to make a change at that time, and so I joined Movistar then back 2020. But like I said, it was still really traditional, still really. I remember I arrived at the first race and I was happy that it's Tour Down Under, because I was like, yeah, for sure it's gonna be English there. We're in Australia, and then it was completely Spanish. So there was a big communication lag.
Yuri, actually, to go back even further, I know you for many, many, many years. Well, looking at my age, I probably know you now for 20 or 25 years. How do you get in touch with cycling? I know that your mom, she was a German champion once in cyclocross. But please tell to our viewers and listeners, how did you get in touch with cycling? And was it ever an option for you to not become a cyclist with your parents?
Yeah, it's true. My mom was a professional cyclocross rider, and also my dad was doing cycling until he had a crash in under 23, and so I completely grew up with it, and I was always on the bike. I always loved it, and I really loved the competition in general. So for me, it was never another option. To be honest, if you would ask my mom right now, she would be happy if I would do something else. Of course, she is proud, but you know how moms are. So she's like, yeah, if you would study and have a work with the crashes and everything, she can't really see the races. So no, it was for me never really other option. And then also when I think 15 or 16 years or 14, I joined a sports school in Germany, and since then I really had the dream, and we're following that dream to get a pro cyclist. So to coming also back to the first question, then when I made it 2020 into Movistar, it was my big dream I chased for a long time. I was really proud, and I was also really motivated then to make the step in Movistar to learn Spanish, because it was necessary. Even they were building this new, let's say, academy style with the young guys. The language was still completely Spanish. All the seniors, they were just talking Spanish. The mechanics, I remember having a bike problem in Tour Down Under, and going back to the car of the director and just making noises of the chain, because I didn't know how to say that I have a problem with the bike. So
Like weak.
I just made weird noises, and were showing with my hand to the bottom bracket. It was definitely not easy, but they had a good idea, and I have to say, if I look back on the 4 years, also definitely had a good time. Development wise, it was never not always perfect or not always the best, but if you talk about atmosphere and the people, they were definitely good and definitely nice people. Just yeah, I think the old school and tradition is still there, and on the one thing it's really nice, on the other side it's also an issue performance wise.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the sport. You know, it's change, adapt, or die, basically. And you know, some organizations are much more open to that sort of change. But you know, being so young when you did turn pro, what was the coolest thing about signing that world tour contract and being part of a world tour team?
Actually, if I could have chosen to get the contract 1 year later, I would have taken it, to say that first. Because as an under 23, I never had the opportunity to ride for own results. So when I did the classics in my second year under 23, I was like, let's say, not even a co-leader. I was like the last worker. So I did proper results and getting in the first group or something and winning the race as a team with Jonas Woods, for example. But I wanted to go for own results, maybe in TTs, like in the juniors, in some stage races there that you don't have really big climbs. So I get that feeling of winning again. But then in 2019, when I got the offer, I was like, yeah, okay, if you get it never again, maybe, and maybe, yeah, it's stupid to not take it if you have it. So I took it, but I would have been happy to have a team that says, okay, we're gonna let you ride 1 more year under 23, and then we take you as a stagiaire or some solution like that. But yeah, when I took it in my first year, the coolest thing probably was traveling immediately around the world. Like January first race, Tour Down Under, straight Australia business class. I was like, what is? I think I gained 2 kilos because I didn't want to miss a meal. I don't want to sleep on the plane. I was always looking around when the people are coming and bringing like the crackers and the small dishes, and I think I probably eat 4,000 calories on the plane, but I just needed 1,000.
And 4 years of movie star. Then you changed teams during COVID. And if I remember right, it was difficult to find a new contract. Why was that? Did you were too late looking for a team, or was all teams were already full? What made it difficult to find a new team or find a new contact?
Actually, a lot of things I would say was in the end was I had my best year probably I would say 2021 already in Movistar, so my second year. And then if you look at this from the outside, you think, oh, this guy is good in the second year, and then from then on, oh, he's over it. It just goes down from now on. And yeah, 2022, I had a lot of issues with the knee for a lot of time. Also health issues, and I had crashes. Before I had a management, that at some point I decided to not work with the management anymore. What also for sure didn't make it easy to get in contact with other teams. But I choose that, or I decided for that. So I had to also stick with it, or I wanted to stick with it. And yeah, then to take that all together, yeah, I didn't have the best year 2023 again. So the teams were like not really sure. I think I'm as a type of rider, I'm a guy you can take to every race, and I can do a job or a good job for the team. But I didn't have any standout results my own. So I basically need a leader that steps in and says, okay, this guy does good work. He's has a good value for the team. He's really loyal. But if you don't have that, yeah, it's also hard to go to the team and says, yeah, I'm loyal, I'm good. everyone can say that. If you don't have the results that speak for their own, it's quite hard to go to other teams. So yeah, all that together made it not so easy. And yeah, in the end, I was really happy to end up and get the opportunity at Alpecin.
You said something very interesting there about that you wish you had maybe one more year in the under 23 program to learn how to win, to work for yourself. I mean, nowadays teams are signing kids right out of the junior ranks to long-term contracts. Do you think this is a good idea?
It's a hard question to answer because I think it can be a good idea if you maybe make it right. But I think at some point you can what for me is you miss a bit of race instinct. So if you take this young guy, let's say even you take me and then you put me into Tour Down Under, my first race, and you say, okay, he's 20 years old, he's quite strong for his age, but of course not as strong as the guys we have here, like the World Tour riders from the past. So we're gonna let him pull, let's say, or we're gonna let him try for the break. But okay, you can try for the break, you just attack or you pull, but your race instinct is not gonna, you're gonna lose it at some point, in my opinion. This is what I can say for my own. This moving when in the peloton, when it gets more hectic, when it gets towards the final, the killer instinct, I would say. I would say I had it in the juniors, and I lost it a lot, and I never really got it back. And now I'm happy in the position I am. I think I'm a solid and a good worker, and I'm good in this position. I don't want to be the guy again who is hunting the results every day and the team was working for, because I found my place and it took me a long time to find it. But if you talk about race instinct and taking young guys up that maybe want to win race at a later point, they may be gonna miss a bit of this. This is the issue I would see.
To follow up on that a little bit, sometimes it feels like that race instinct is not so much needed anymore in modern cycling. If you take, let's say, Jonas Vingegaard and his team, they go, hey, you're gonna pull for 50 kilometers, then you're gonna pull for 30 kilometers, then Wout van Aert pulls for 10 kilometers with 555 watts average, and Jonas attacks with 600 watts, and he's gonna win. They don't need race tactics anymore. They just put the hammer down and just destroy everything. Do you think that's the way modern cycling is now? Or you still think, no, you need to be clever. You need to know the other ones. You need to see the race to feel the tactics of the others. Or you think, nah, it's just all about the numbers and the power to what ratio?
I think if you're not Tadej Pogacar, Wout van Aert or Jonas Vingegaard, it definitely matters, for sure. I think they have the standing. They have maybe also the jersey in this moment, because everyone knows how strong they are at that point. But if you don't have that, for sure you need the instinct, because you can save a lot of energy. You can move way better. You are in front when you have to be, and when you not have to be in front, you're not in front. And I think that definitely matters and can make a big difference if you're not one of these big guys. If you're just by far the strongest, then I would say it even matters, but not so much anymore. But I think nowadays we've seen from Swift Racing that there are guys coming up who put insane power, like who have the numbers where you say, okay, he has to win the stage race. He has to go into the World Tour and win everything. But they're coming and they're joining teams, and you're wondering how it's possible. They're in the same race like you, but they do on the climb, they do, just as an example, they do 100 watts more than you. And you're like, how it's possible I end up in front on top of the climb, than him just by sailing before, being in a better position, moving up at the right time. So I think it definitely matters. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, and you're absolutely right. The one thing that I definitely see the sport going towards is more that analytical approach, not really that human, that tactical approach, and that's got to be tough, right? I mean, you have what you have, and you send your Training Peaks files or whatever to a coach or a contact of a team, and then just hope it all works out. But yeah, I mean, power is one thing, finesse is another thing, and being able to read the route, to save energy, to use it at the right time is not the easiest thing to do out there, which you should be able to do X, but like if you burn all your matches before it's time to do X, then you're not getting Y anymore, right? So what was the main difference? Because I look at old school Movistar and I look at young and exciting and new way of thinking at Alpecin de Koenig. What was the clear difference when you switched teams last year?
The approach to win races. I would say we had really good riders also in Movistar, but I missed sometimes the willing to win. So we have a big will, like we really want to win. And sometimes, let's say we had Enric Mas on Movistar and you're thinking, okay, we for sure need to go for the win here. And then you're like, yeah, we're gonna see and we're gonna position him, and then we look what happened. And here we don't even need in Alpecin, we don't even need the big superstar. Of course, if you have Mathieu, Jasper, Kaden, it's clear. It's we want to win. Second is disappointing. And but even if we don't have one of these three, we are aiming to win, and that's the first and I think biggest difference. And then also that yeah, I would say the approach of training, performance in general is way more professional and strict, or not strict, but controlled in a good way for me. For me, it works really well, and I think that was also the reason why it worked really well for me.
When you joined the team, you had Mathieu van der Poel in the World Champion jersey, right? And he did look pretty cool in that white outfit, I have to admit.
Jens has such a man crush on Mathieu.
I
And-
always go just with the World Championship. Yeah? When I joined Movistar, World Champion, now Alpecin.
There you go. You bring the mojo. You bring the good luck. So how was it to be racing with a superstar like him? I mean, I remember when I was in the same team at the same race with Fabian Cancellara, I'm like, oh, whatever happens, the one thing I don't want to do is crash Fabian. That was my worst nightmare. I was just terrified of the idea that me doing a stupid mistake, crashing superstar Cancellara. So how was it for you to race with superstars like Mathieu van der Poel or Jasper Philipsen in the team?
I for sure had it already before with Valverde, or how they call him, Bala. Maybe even there I had it even more a bit because I was younger. I was just neo-pro. I maybe had it even more there. But yeah, for sure, I was a bit nervous, or I'm still a little bit nervous. I speak a little bit less maybe because you don't want to say something wrong or do something wrong. But it also motivates me in a good way in a race. Like this little. We also have a director. We have a director, and he doesn't talk a lot. But when he says something, it's important. So if he says something, you also get this sense of you don't want to do something wrong. You want to do it correct. So yeah, I had a bit the same with Mathieu, or Jasper, that if you are at the race, and I was just at a few races with them, that then you want to do everything correct and you're afraid of course, doing maybe a little mistake but for me, it's like a little extra motivation also.
Oh, heck yeah. You got to have those guys to learn from. And as long as they're patient with you and constructive with their criticism, things click. So we know that you're in Mallorca training. You're not sitting business class eating those really good, I don't know if they have them anymore. Jens, do you remember the chicken skewers that they would provide with like the peanut sauce on there? I mean, talk about 4,000 calories. Every single time they came by, I was like, yep, I need more of those.
Yeah,
but
me too.
So we know you're in Mallorca. So you've got, this will be your 6th year as a pro. Last year was your first year on the new team, Alpecin de Koenig. What did you work on over this last offseason to be prepared for 2025? Where did you feel that you needed to make the most improvements?
First of all, I didn't have the best winter. I had to take a little break because of some health issues. So then I just started a bit alternative training. But this turned out pretty well. For me, I know the thing with the weight and the food is a big topic nowadays in the whole cycling world. And I think for myself, I need to find a really good balance. So I don't want to wait the whole food the whole time. But I also want to be stable with my weight because I don't really like to have, let's say, 5 or 6 kilos more in the off season or be same weight in the off season and then maybe gain at a point where you don't want to gain. So to control my food in the race, before the race and after, and also out of racing and competition, that I have a stable, healthy way of eating the whole topic around food without too many stress in your head, is, I think, I definitely wanted to work on. So yeah, that I'm stable, because I think this also can make a lot of impact on your performance, because if you have to lose weight then too much again, you probably get sick, you lose power, the numbers are going down, and it was already way better now in Alpecin in this year, and I think this was also a reason why my performance was more consistent and better. But I definitely wanted to keep working on that, and then hopefully also, because the last year I did my first Grand Tour, I was just hoping that this also gives me a little boost of just watts, just power, just numbers. Yeah.
So, what would be your role in the team now? More like in the lead out with Jasper, or more in the classics with Mathieu? And also then, what do you think you need to train your body for to do that job? Just make your engine bigger, more endurance, or more max power, better aerodynamics, because you're going to be spending a lot of time riding in the wind. Where do you think it's your role for this coming season, and how do you prepare your body for that?
Like I said before a bit, in Movistar, I got into that role that I'm a worker for the team, and I'm really happy also with that role now. And if I would have to describe myself now as a rider, I would say I'm a type who can do everything but nothing really good. And if you take the last Vuelta, I think I showed that I'm also a rider who can be up there with the guys after a really hard day, or let's say you have 6-7 hard days, mountains, flats, doesn't matter, and you come to the final and a guy like Kaden needs someone for the lead out, I can be there. Or he needs someone to close a gap of 2 minutes to pull it down, I can be there. Or going for a break in a semi-mountain stage, I can be there. So I think I can be quite versatile. So to fit in the role who is needed for the leader. So if you have maybe a leader who wants to win out of a small group, to make the race hard before, or if you want to win with Kaden or Jasper in the sprint in the end, or Mathieu, to keep it together when the group is not too big, to make it first hard and maybe in the end keep it together, pull, and then if it's necessary do the lead out. Depends how the role is. And yeah, this is my role. Sometimes in the Vuelta, for example, I did then the lead out. Sometimes I had to pull. Sometimes I made it hard, and I'm really sure, and that it's gonna be the same this year again.
One thing that you mentioned there, weight, right? We all know that that's very important. But with so many different training tools out there now, from altitude training, heat adaptation, of course, the food apps to help you keep that healthy, consistent weight, to ice bath, sleep trackers, and of course your power numbers, from Training Peaks or whatever you use. Which one works best for you and your talents, where you feel that you gain an advantage from that?
I would separate it. So if you talk about training, of course you have the watts and heart rate, and I would say the heart rate is sometimes underrated. I think Pogacar already said it in another podcast that he really likes to ride by heart rate. And I think it can be really interesting and helpful also to ride again, what is also a bit old school, but ride again sometimes more by heart rate. Of course, you have the watts and you can take it in relation to the heart rate, but to maybe if you don't feel the best, or if you have a good day, or to ride a bit more by heart rate also on easy long endurance rides, for example. And if I go back on the weight now for myself, it's a mix of controlling it a bit by waiting. For example, after the training, you come back, you say, okay, it takes 30 seconds. You say, okay, I want more or less 120 grams of carbs after the training, for example. So it's going to be around 150 grams of dry rice. So I wait 150 grams of dry rice. Of course, it adds up a bit with sauce and this stuff, but this takes me 30 seconds. And for me, it's not a big effort anymore. Maybe you have some fruits after, but this is not an effort for me. And this together with the feeling of you maybe drink the glass of water and then just listen a bit to your body. So you have the feeling. Usually if you eat healthy and good food, in my opinion, your body still gives you a feedback. Am I still hungry? Am I fine? Was it enough? Or after 2 hours, if you're hungry again and you had a well-rounded meal, you are like, okay, maybe I should eat again a bit, have a little snack. And for me, the mix of listening to my body, my stomach, what he is telling me, and waiting and controlling a bit the food, not too much, is what made me, or how I'm doing it now, and what helped me to have a stable weight and definitely reduce sickness and have a more consistent performance.
And I believe every pro these days records his training. How often do you send your training files in? On a daily basis?
That's
or
old school.
You
You don't have to send them in anymore. They're already there, Jens.
Yeah.
Alrighty, there you go.
30
Alright, then
seconds
let me go. Let me go a little further with my question. How often do you have contact and feedback from your coach? Once a week you have a call with him, or he sends you a quick WhatsApp message every night, hey, today your file looks good, or maybe tomorrow you do a little less or a little more. How do us normal people have to imagine the contact between you, the team, the performance coach?
That's really personal on the rider, like how you as a person like it. Because let's say you, Jens, you like it to have a short chat via WhatsApp every day. then you should have a short 2-3 messages. Yeah, my training was good, all fine, ready for tomorrow. That's it. And Bobby maybe doesn't like it. He wants to do his own thing, and at the end of the week he wants to have a call with the coach where they talk 20 minutes, and then next week they're gonna do the same again. And I know there the athletes are really, really different. For example, also me, I more like to speak about it up front before 5 days. Then I do my thing. If something is not right, we maybe have an unplanned call or just a short chat. But otherwise, I do my own thing. I know what is a plan. I maybe adjust a little bit if it's necessary. And yeah, I also know other guys who doesn't want contact, not at all, but really, really less. Just do their training and leave me alone. And then you have the opposite guys who need a 1 hour phone call would be too much, but who want a lot of contact every day. I think that's really personal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But your team, Alpecin de Koninck, signed 6 new riders this year, 4 guys from the Alpecin de Koninck development team and 1 from the UAE Gen Z development team. What advice would you give to these young riders coming into the team after you're in your 6 years as a pro now? You got to kind of help these guys along. What advice would you give these young riders that are coming up from these development teams?
Not always take it too serious or too, what I would know the German word now, like too. If you're too strict with yourself, sometimes you have to still look forward to the racing also. If you burn yourself in training and because you're so strict, like let's say you have a 10-minute interval and the climb is 9 minute 50 and you go over it and you sprint 10 seconds into the downhill. It's like completely stupid, but I'm sure there are a lot of pro cyclists or cyclists out there who gonna do it if they have 10 minutes and they're not finished with their 10 minutes. Okay, if you have a 10-minute test, it's something different. But if you just have a 10-minute interval, with these things, you can burn yourself in your head, in my opinion, or also weight or food wise. And if you a bit, of course, you want to be professional, but if you're a bit more relaxed and just enjoy the riding and the suffering, you have to enjoy the suffering. That's important. It's not always about winning. You really need to like the suffering and enjoy it. And I think if you learn that, you get way further. Also, I think, in my opinion, if you look at Mathieu and Kogi, for example, the reason also why they're so good is because they just like it. They like to suffer. They like to attack. They like to hurt themselves. And if you enjoy it that much, if you just play, let's say, okay, I know you don't play cycling, but if you just have fun, you get quite far.
2 great words that you said, and I'm glad that you said them. Be professional, but don't forget to have fun, right? Like, not everything is a number, not everything is an absolute, but be professional. Yeah, suffering is part of it. We all know that, but have fun. Great answer.
Juri, since I was part of my career also a helper and help people like, the Schleck brothers and Cancellara, you know what the biggest compliment is your team leader is gonna give you in the team bus? When the leader, Mathieu or Jasper, Philipsen and Jukis, when they go, hey, you know what? Today was a boring day, nothing happened. Then you have done the perfect job. You kept every trouble away from your leader. When the leader go, nah, today was easy, nothing happened. Then that is the biggest compliment, because then that means you offered your boss the most perfect day. But my question actually is about your racing program. When you start racing, where do you start racing? Any grand tours on the program for you, or any of the classics? How is the future, the close future, gonna look for you?
I think I can say that. maybe I have to give a little text to my coach afterwards, but um, the
We don't want to
idea,
get you in trouble. Just tell us what is allowed to tell.
no, the idea is to start in Portugal at end of February in Algarve, and then to go in a training camp with a team again. I'm gonna join now in January the first time. Then first race end of February, Portugal. Have a training camp again. Have some races probably in Belgium, some of the classics. Not all of them for sure. And then from then on, the idea for now, but we are still in talks, is the Giro. I think the presentation was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So yeah, depending now the route, who's going with the leaders and everything, there are still some discussions, but the idea for now was to build up then for the Giro.
Yeah, I haven't dove into the details, but the Giro sounds a little sticky this year as far as the uphills go. I'm sure Jens, being the commentator for Eurosport, has probably dug into this and he has his little cheat sheet already. But so Jens and I grew up during the cycling boom in Germany, right? Jan Ulrich was the man. Team Telekom was, a dominant team with Zabel. That duo of Ulrich and Zabel was pretty impressive. But it seems like the last 10, maybe even longer, 15 years that cycling's been a little forgotten in Germany. Is Germany ready for a comeback? Because when you look at the number of pros from Germany, you guys have a lot of them. Is Germany ready for a comeback, and will there be another kind of German super team?
So like you said, I think we would be ready for it. Even now, we have really, really good riders. If you take my good neighbor Niels Pollitt or Lennart Kemner or Max Schachmann, you have the big riders now. And if you talk about the future, you have a really strong Lipowitz, Steinhauser, Marco Brenner. You have a big group of talents coming up. But I think the problem is, for example, you go in a coffee now in Germany, and a lot of times the questions you get asked, if you say, first question is, you do it for fun, cycling, or you're a professional? And if you say you're professional, maybe this, or most of the times the question is, you already did doping. It's since what happened with Telekom and Ulrich, it's a lot of times still a bit cycling doesn't have the best image in Germany. And if there's someone coming up, they're really harsh on them, in my opinion. The media is, if you do a good performance, they are searching for the new superstar, the new Jan Ulrich. And we have a big group, like I said, but they need to be more relaxed on them. They need to give them, these young guys, some space. They're gonna perform, I'm really sure, and they're gonna be really good. And I think maybe you don't want to put too much pressure, but there's even a Grand Tour winner. Already two of them, I think, won a stage. So in this young age, so they maybe have the capacity. But to say, do we have the new Tour de France winner, or to make this kind of pressure, I think is a lot of times a mistake. Why then the people are not watching it, or to make that press, so cycling doesn't really get the attention it should be in Germany.
And you mentioned it, that we have quite a few German riders in different teams, and they all do a very, very good, solid job, right? Is there a certain special connection? Like when you go to race, when you start your first race in Portugal, let's say, you straight look for other Germans in a peloton, or in modern cycling, you got told to stay with the teammates and just ride tempo and don't talk to anyone, just stay within your 8-rider team?
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble again now, so I can't give my answer here now. No, of course, depends my job. if we have stage one and we have a super important start and have to keep it together or whatever, I probably don't have the time, but I really hope to at some point have the time to search for someone, because you have to be honest. From 2020 to 2024 or now 2025, this definitely also changed. In 2020 or 21, there were more races where you had time to chat with other guys in the race. It gets less and less because there are no easy races or it's crazy. It's always way more tense, and you maybe chat for 10 minutes, 15, and then the other person has to do his job. You have to do your job. It's already next crucial point. But yeah, if I have the time, I would like to definitely search for someone, because I know that Niels Pollitt, he's also doing Algarve, and we didn't see each other for a long time. So if I have the time, I straight go there and we have a little chat.
See, so there's a lot more Jens Voits in the peloton than when we were there, because like we'd have a nice, easy stage, everything under control. And then this cat would just like, I'm gibbering, I got to go. And then the race would get harder. So we always blamed it on Jens. Even our, we're talking to our team through the radio. What is Jens doing? What is he doing? Jensy, loved you for it. But every once in a while I was like, dude, just sit in the pack and talk a little bit. Okay. So I have a question for both of you, and I'm going to answer it as well. So the question is, and you kind of answered this already with your past favorite riders, but I'll go first. So who do we respect, or who did we respect the most, past, current, and then future? So for me, for the past was Miguel Indurain. Like he was everything. I was coming up right at that time. He was number one for me. When I was racing, the guy that I respected the most was Valverde. And that's funny that both of them come from the old organization of Movistar. And then the future rider that I really respected, that I actually grabbed and introduced myself to back in 2008, was Mark Cavendish. So, Jensy, favorite past, current during your generation, and then that future guy that you tipped for big things.
Well, easy start with the past. Sean Kelly. I had this picture on the wall, man. The guy was the hero for me. I believe also he once said, hey, if you don't carry your head under your arm, you go back on the bike and finish the race. So I tried to live up to his expectations. Sean Kelly was the man for me. During my career, I think after a hard start, I actually did get along quite okay with André Schmiel. We almost had a fight. I was yelling at him. He was yelling back at me, but I think he respected me for standing up, for myself. And he realized, okay, the situation I did that, or he did that to me, was absolutely stupid and unnecessary, and I stood up to him. I think it was my first year. I was in Neopro. I said, Andre, you're such a legend, but fucking hell, you cannot do this with 80 miles to go. So we went along, and I liked Kev, because I raced a few races with him. Kev was just, he would never give mercy, and he would also not expect mercy, and he wouldn't complain. If things go wrong or if things go well, he wouldn't complain. He was just a tough cookie. So I liked him in the races. In the future or generation now, hard to say. Well, I guess I'm a fan of Pogacar. I mean, it looks like he is just having the killer instinct, like Juri said before, and he's still having fun with it. But it's always easy to like a winner, right? It's always easy to like somebody like him. Often also we need to respect the people. They work hard, but they're not always in the spotlight.
Okay, Juri, we know who your CSC alumni favorites were before you got in, and then current and maybe that future prospect that you can tip us to.
Current, I remember 2 times. The one person was Peter Sagan, was also 2020 or was it 21, 20? When I think it was in Belgium, one of these races, and I was riding behind him, and you just have this, he was massive, but like the legs, it's like a bit of like under Greipel also. You have these big legs, but it's just all muscles, and you see all the power there going down with every pedal stroke. You're riding behind this superstar or next to it, and he's riding, just an absolute machine. You're riding there, and you're really scared to get close to him. And I had this with Peter Sagan, definitely, and also with Van Aert when I was riding behind him. It's not smart to say that on Alpecin if you have Mathieu, but there I'm just talking more about the physique, because in my opinion, if you're riding behind Van Aert, when you see his physique, again, also the legs and especially his hip or his glute, it's just impressive. You're like, it scares you kind of a little bit. You see the power, you just see it. You're like, okay, if he gonna stand up now, he's gone. And but the first time I definitely had it with Peter Sagan. I remember that really well. For the future riders, yeah,
I mean, these guys are your buddies, right? Some of them are coming up. Some of them you've raced with since you were juniors. But like, who is that guy that you think is going to be a champion in the future?
I would now go to someone I was teammates with and had a quite breakthrough year this year, Mathieu Jorgensen. I think he's gonna win a Grand Tour.
Ooh,
I
like that.
I think he's gonna to be on the podium for sure, but I think he has the capacity, and I think he's gonna win it. I hope it's working for him on long term, because he's such a hard worker that I don't know how long I could do it, to live such a strict and controlled life. I don't know how long that would work for me, and I really have a huge respect for that. But how he's working, how he's developing and everything, I can definitely see him there. Yeah.
Juri, thanks a million for being our guest, and hopefully we can come back to you in the future. Maybe further down the season we can see how life is going for you. Juri, thank you very much for being our guest tonight.
Thanks a lot for the talk.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. There's going to be a lot more content popping up here, including more great interviews with top guests like Juri.
And please keep dropping your questions for us in the comments. Check your description below to find us on social media and Patreon to support our channel like these great people.